we initially came to that idea to conduct such kind of webinar in which Georgian and program country participants will participate. After we decided to organize a WET networking event in May. As you know, Skills Agency will be organizing that event for vocational education and training centers in Tbilisi, on which you're also invited. So as an Erasmus office, we came up to the idea that it would be a good idea to talk about a little bit more what sort of programs are available within the Erasmus Plus program, and how you can participate in those programs as program country participants with Georgian participants. Because mainly those opportunities are centralized actions, which means that in some cases, national agencies might not be very focused on promoting those programs because they are more concerned, of course, with the programs that they are managing locally. If you have questions, you can raise hands and I will also answer to those questions. But in the first place, let me share my presentation. Well, I hope you see the presentation.
Yes, we do.
Really? Okay. Can you see the presentation properly? Because my colleagues are telling me that it's mirrored.
Yes, I can see.
Yes, fine.
Okay, very good.
I can see, but this is little.
Okay,
Size.
I will try to increase the size. I guess it's good now.
No, same.
Okay, very good. Before I continue, before I actually start talking about this technical description of the programs, can you, in the chat section, tell us from which country are you from, so we will have a better idea. We have some representatives from Georgia as well.
I'm from Georgia, Gurjani Municipality, College IEC.
Okay, I see. Great. Italy, Greece, wonderful. Latvia, amazing. Greece, great. And one more question, if you can reply in the chat section again. Are you familiar with the capacity building in the field of vocational education and training centers of Erasmus Plus program? Just write down yes or no. Amazing, great. Some of you have a very good understanding clearly as you are leading the projects. Some don't have as good understanding as we would like to. Great. Okay, now let's continue with our presentation. Main goal of today's meeting is to actually support the collaboration between the WET institutions of Georgia, between Georgia and program countries. We aim to strengthen and increase the understanding about the CBWET, particularly CBWET program. And we also would like to talk about the opportunity, which is called collaboration partnership. I'm sure majority of the program country institutions have a very good idea about the collaboration partnership, because it's locally managed in your country. It's managed by the national agency of your respective country, and those opportunities are very well promoted. But I also would like to very briefly talk about this opportunity as well in the end, because it came to my attention that a lot of institutions, not only in the field of vocational education and training centers, but sport organizations, youth organizations, etc., are participating in those opportunities as well. So I thought it would be a good idea to just briefly also talk about the cooperation partnership in the at the end of the project. Okay, let's start from the very basic. Of course, the leaders of the projects who've already implemented this do not need to be reminded of this aspect, but the institutions that do not have much experience or have not applied at all need to very well understand that good project starts and ends with the program guide. Does not matter what sort of question you might have related to the project you are about to implement. You can find every answer in the guide. Not as detailed, of course. Guide does not give you the directions what you should write in your project, but it gives a very good guideline what should be written, how it should be written, what are the eligibility in terms of activities, in terms of finances, what are supposed to be your objectives, etc., etc. So it's always a good idea to start. When you come up with the project idea, it's always a good idea to consult with the program guide, and during the creation process of your project proposal, it's advisable to check constantly what is written in the program guide, what are the requirements, what are evaluation criteria, etc., etc. And following those guides will give you eventually a very good project. It will help you out to create a quality project, very European, so to speak. In the end, what you should do at the beginning of the project proposal, you can do. You can find in those in this guide program priorities. Of course, Erasmus Plus program has general priorities, but each sub program, for example, CBWET has its own priorities. Cooperation partnership has its own priorities. Jean Monnet in the field of higher education has its own priorities. Therefore, during the development process of your project proposal, it's a good idea to consult with these particular program priorities, which is given for the project that is your subject of interest, so to speak. It's very important at the beginning of the creation of project proposal to check out the eligibility criteria, whether your organization is eligible to participate as a full partner, associated partner, or a coordinator even. So before you develop, especially that applies to Georgian participants, before you decide to develop a project proposal, check out the eligibility criteria. What sort of role is supposed to have to institutions that are established in Georgia? Program guide will give you detailed description, what should be the consortium composition, what sort of countries should be included in those projects, and how many institutions can be involved. Sometimes there are minimum requirements. sometimes there are maximum requirements, mostly maximum requirements is not given, but oftentimes you will find the requirements, minimum requirements in terms of number and profile of institutions. In the program guide for CBWET, of course, also there you will find the eligible activities. You don't need to go wildly creative what sort of activity you can create as a vocational education and training center, but program guide will give you a good idea what sort of program, what sort of activities you can implement within the project. You can also find information about the length of the application. In the last project call in 2024, as you know, the length of the application for CBWET and capacity building projects generally declined. Initially, it was 17 and up to 120, but now this is 40 pages. And that's very important to keep in mind, to bear in mind, because if you apply with, for example, 50 pages long application, the evaluator won't be able to read the remaining 10 pages. And if you have some sort of important information given in the last pages, the evaluator won't be able to get acquainted to those information, and therefore it will affect eventually to your evaluation score. In the guide, you have deadlines, information about the deadlines. As you know, Erasmus has the typical life cycle at the end of November, at the beginning of December. There will be a new call announced. There will be given the deadlines for particular projects you are interested in. And for centralized actions, mostly the deadlines are February, March. And you can keep in mind when you're thinking about creating a project, then probably now is a good time to start finding the partners, to start talking about the potential project ideas, to talk with your partners how these roles can be distributed between the participating institutions, etc., etc. This takes time. This may take several times, especially if we keep in mind that summer is not very active, especially end of the summer is not very active for educational institutions. So it will take a couple of months to talk about to find the partners, to come up with the common idea that has a common interest, to distribute your roles, and etc. Also, in the program guide, of course, I also mentioned that they are given the evaluation criterias, very detailed criterias against which your application will be checked. And recently in Austria, I had an opportunity to talk with the former evaluator of the Erasmus Plus program, and she advised it's a good idea to have these evaluation criteria printed out when you are writing the project proposal. And when you're writing this project proposal, constantly check the evaluation criteria, whether this project proposal meets the requirements that are given there. And also in the program guide, in the last call, in the last program guide 2025, there was mentioned a lot of strategic documents. And it's very important for the new projects to consider those strategic documents in mind. Those documents describe certain priorities of European Commission in different directions, whether it's higher education, whether it's vocational education and training centers, or whether it's youth organizations. So it is highly advisable, not advisable, mandatory even, to check those strategy documents and make it clear for the evaluator that you are considering those strategic documents, you understand the priorities of the European Commission, and yes, that your project proposal actually meets those requirements and strategic development goals of the European Commission. That, of course, affects on the quality of the project proposal. That was very detailed, what is given there. Now, particularly, let's talk about the CBWET, CBWET stands for Capacity Building in Vocational Education and Training Centers. And those projects are international projects that are based on multilateral partnership between organizations. As you know, 99% of Erasmus Plus projects are based on team. There is only one case I can remember right now. This is Jean Monnet in higher education sector, where only one institution can apply with a certain project. In the rest of the projects, there you need the partners. And CBWET is not an exemption from this. And CBWET also requires the involvement of various organizations from different sorts of regions. Very important information which is given in the program guide, one that I always advise beneficiaries to consider, is that CBWET has to be targeting the third countries not associated to the program. From Italy, our colleague mentioned that they are leading the project, but even though the leader and the coordinator is the program country representative, the project eventually has to be targeting the third country. I'm sure they have certain third country already involved in their project, and even though they are coordinators, they have involved these third countries. I also would like to, for some of you, that's not news, but for some, I'd like to make a reminder that Erasmus Plus program differentiate countries in terms of geographical location. We have 3 different categories of countries. I always say that you cannot find a name of single country in a program guide. You should know in which category of the countries you are involved. And in the program guide, there will be descriptions given based on those categories. In Erasmus Plus program, we have 3 different categories of countries. We have program countries, countries that are in European Union. Then we have third countries associated to the program. They are not so like Turkey, Norway, Liechtenstein, North Macedonia, and I don't quite remember the last 2, but in the program guide it is given. And we have the rest of the countries which are named third countries not associated to the program. And Georgia also happened to be in that category of countries. However, there is third countries are divided into certain regions. As far as we represent Georgia, let's focus on that. Georgia is a third country not associated to the program, located in Eastern Partnership region, and we are region 2. Why do we need this information? Which countries are involved in the region 2, especially for CBWET, in order to create a consortium? The program guide says that you need at least 1 country located in the region 1 or 2. So if you cannot find the relevant institution, relevant 2 institutions within the 1 country, you need to go and check out the neighboring countries, which are also included in the region 2, in order to create meet the requirement criteria of the consortium. So region 2, Georgia belongs to region 2, and with Georgia, we have in the region 2, we have Armenia, Azerbaijan, Moldova, Ukraine. They have equal rights to participate in those projects, and we also have Belarus, but Belarus is very limited in eligibility, and in the CBWET projects, they cannot participate. What are the main objectives of the capacity building of the WET institutions? As you understand it, this is strengthening the capacities of institutions, of participating organizations, and especially it has to be targeting the needs of the WET institutions in the third countries not associated to the program. And its main objective is to strengthen the cooperation between the involved institutions, to increase the capacities of WET institutions involved in the project, to improve the quality of the work of vocational education and training centers are performing, to improve the socioeconomic environment within the respective countries, and of course to help the WET institutions to align with the local, regional, national, and EU priorities. At the end of the day, for every Erasmus Plus program, the idea is to help the institutions to come close to European standards, to help institutions to talk on the same language, with the same language, and have the same quality standards, same good quality standards, and etc. Thematic areas. I mentioned that in the program guide there are some sort of signs what kind of projects you can create. Of course, there is no detailed guide what sort of projects you can create. There are some thematic areas given based on which you can create and come up with new ideas for your institution and for your partners. This can be work-based learning. This project can be related to work-based learning initiatives. Projects can be related to quality assurance mechanisms within the participating institutions, especially in the third countries not associated to the program. These projects can serve to the improvement and professional development of WET teachers and trainers, improvement of key competencies of your students, like entrepreneurial skills, supporting them to involve more to be involved in civic activities and become active citizens, to support innovation in vocational education and training center field. Of course, these green and digital skills is a big topic, and CBWET also aims to tackle this issue and to promote the Green Deal and to promote the digital skills within the WET institutions. So any project that can be related to that topic will be very relevant for the CBWET. Of course, you can create new study materials and new training modules within the CBWET project. And in terms of activities of the CBWET, you can create networks, you can create tools for learning, some sort of digital tools or systems for evaluation, maybe for exchanging the credits. I don't know, you know better what is relevant for your field. You can also create new study materials. You can come up to the mechanisms how to involve the labor market in your operations to make your work more relevant for the labor market in the end, to develop implementation of international exchange activities, etc. But like I mentioned, those activities are not the must thing to choose and follow. You can create something related. You can be more creative as far as those projects meets the goals of the Erasmus program, as far as it meets the serves the needs of the involved vocational education and training centers. So we'd like to emphasize one more time that it's advisable to write down and describe why this project is relevant for the in terms of national context. For example, if you are doing a project in Georgia, your only job is not to meet the program guide and to fulfill the requirements of the EAKA and to follow the guidelines of the European Commission. You also need to consider what are the national priorities. Of course, if you download this strategic development plans in education sector is open. Every ministry, for example, Ministry of Georgia has published it. If you download it and get acquainted with it, you will see that those priorities are like 99% or if not 100% in line with the development goals of the European Commission. So you just need to mention in the project that you understand the priorities in the local context and you are meeting with that project, you are meeting and you are tackling certain issue if you find there is certain issue, and eventually you are considering the national priorities within the project. I mentioned that I noticed that oftentimes Erasmus program guide has a specific policy documents involved in the program guide, in every program guide, but this time it's very heavily emphasized that the projects have to be considering these strategic documents that are published by the European Commission, and each call has separate strategic documents that is relevant for a call. For Neighborhood East, this is region specific as well. I'll keep that in mind. For Region 2, for CB wet projects, the strategic documents that you need to get acquainted with our economic and investment plans, how European Commission plans to improve the economic environment and investment opportunities. And also the next strategic document you should be considering and keeping in mind while creating your project is European training and foundation recommendations under the Torino process. This is given in the program guide, but we will send you after this presentation. We will send out these presentations. There are links given as you see, so you can directly check them out. New call is not, like I mentioned, is not published yet. It will be available at the end of 2025. But in the previous call, the available budget for the Eastern Partnership was around 5 million euros. If we take in mind that one project can be 100,000 or 400,000, let's take an example. If a project worth 200,000, you can create around 15 projects within that budget. But of course, the project budget varies. The minimum budget is 100,000, and the maximum budget for CBWAT is 400,000. So it's not guaranteed that 15 projects will be financed. Maybe 7 will be financed if the selected projects will have higher budget in their proposal. So it's very much it can be different based on the proposals you will be submitting. Horizontal priorities. I also would like to talk about a little bit about the horizontal priorities, because every Erasmus Plus program, among them, CBWAT has to be targeting as a minimum one horizontal priority of the Erasmus Plus program, and Erasmus has 4 priorities. Those are inclusion and diversity, Green Deal and sustainable development, digital transformation, and civic engagement, and citizenship and participation, if you prefer so. So your project has to be targeting at least one horizontal priority, at least one. We already mentioned about the strategic goals and what documents you should be keeping in mind. And like I mentioned, the ministries have generally published their development plans and their priorities. I'm sure every ministry has published it on their webpage. But while you're creating a project, while you are tackling certain issues within your sector, I very much encourage you to get acquainted to strategic development plans within that sector, within wet sector, and get acquainted what are the strategic development plans in the country in order to make your project eventually more relevant for the Erasmus Plus program. Very high, and more quality information you involve there, the higher your chances are for finances. In order to be participant, in order to be eligible to participate, well, you have to be established a legal entity within your country, and you have to be active in the WETS sector. Type of institutions in the CBWET projects depends on the project idea. You might need different sorts of institutions, not only vocational education and training centers. You might need, for example, research institutions, or you might need certain commercial organizations in your project if you are targeting improvements, collaboration and relevance between the WET institution and labor market. You might need commercial organizations as well. Therefore, in your project, once you meet the minimum eligibility criteria of WET institutions that have to be involved in the project, you can also involve other sorts of institutions, such as, like I mentioned, commercial companies. It can be a regional or national authority. It can be a research institution, innovative agency, etc., etc. You can involve them. It is not mandatory. It's very much up to the context of your project proposal. Eligible regions in the CBWET, not every region can participate in those projects, but what is relevant for us, right? The region 2. Region 2 can participate in those projects. This information is also given in the program guide. This is about participation, but when it comes to coordination, even though the program guide says that those projects have to be targeting third countries not associated to the program, the coordinator has to be either from the program country or from the third country not associated to the program, like I mentioned. Those 6 additional countries: Turkey, Norway, Liechtenstein, Ireland, North Macedonia. Those countries, in addition to EU countries, can be coordinators. Third countries not associated to the program, like Georgia, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Ukraine, cannot be coordinators. They can be either partners or associated partners. For example, vocational education and training centers that are relevant to the project can be full partners, which get the relevant part of the budget based on their roles and responsibilities. And you can also involve some associated partners like ministries, etc. Generally, they are not paid. Associated partners are not paid from the grant amount. They are just supporting because it is an interest of the country to provide support to a certain project and to implement certain project within a country. I mentioned several times that CBWET has a consortium requirement like every other Erasmus Plus program. The requirement is that at least four members have to be involved within the project, and those 4 participants have to be represented at least from 3 countries. That means that you need to have partners. For example, let's talk about by examples. Our colleague mentioned that they are leading a CBWET project. For example, if the coordinator is from Italy, you will need additional EU member state or third country not associated to the program. Let's take, for example, as in Belgium. And you will need 2 vocational education and training centers from each country. And then you will need at least 1 third country not associated to the program. And you're going to need 2 organizations from there. Either you can choose 2 of those organizations from Georgia, or you can mix, for example, like 1 from Georgia, 1 from Ukraine, for example, or 1 from Azerbaijan. So you will need to stick to the requirement that you cannot mix different regions. You have to stick one region, and you have to choose your potential partners from the same region. Multi-regional projects for CBWET are not eligible. Like I mentioned, those are centralized actions, and generally for centralized actions, the deadline will be around the same, like beginning or the middle of the February. The submission of the application happens on the funding and tenders portal of the European Commission. In the program guide, there is given that code that leads to the CBWET application form where you can submit it, or you can simply on funding and tenders portal just do the keyword search and you will find the interesting project for you. Those projects, CBWETs, are managed by the central agency, EIKEA. And like I mentioned, minimum and maximum amount of grants can be 100,000 or 400,000. It depends on your project idea, what you're about to plan, what are your objectives, etc., etc. Before I continue with the cooperation partnership, and I don't want to dive deep into that because Georgian participants cannot be coordinators. Those projects are mostly targeting to the program countries, but still, as we found that Georgian participants are represented in those projects, I also want to briefly review it. But before I do that, do you have questions about capacity building project? You can raise a hand or you can write the comment in the chat section if you prefer. Or you can ask me at the end of the presentation. Very well. Let's continue with the cooperation partnership. Cooperation partnership is somewhat similar to the CBWET projects, but compared to capacity building projects, cooperation partnerships mainly are targeting strengthening the collaboration between the program countries and third countries associated to the program. The direct target is not third countries not associated to the program. But in certain cases, those countries can be involved in the projects, and we have actually many cases of Georgian participants participating in the cooperation partnership. The main objective of the cooperation partnership is, like I mentioned, is to strengthen the collaboration between the target institutions to improve their quality of their work and relevance, and to develop and reinforce networking between those institutions, sharing of best practices, etc. Funding body varies. For vocational education and training centers, the funding body is generally national agency. National agencies are Erasmus Plus institutions in the European Union and third countries associated to the program. Those institutions are giving out grants for setting goals, and cooperation partnership is one of them. However, in the program guide, if you see the program guide, you might notice that setting calls of cooperation partnership can be financed from the central agency, EIKEA, but that applies only to NGOs. If those NGOs are operating in the field of education, training, or sport or youth, and they are doing these cooperation partnership projects, those NGOs will apply to EIKEA. But the rest of the organizations, educational institutions like yourself, will need to apply to the national agency. Objectives of the action, like I mentioned, is to increase and improve the quality of vocational education and training institutions, to increase the capacity of the organizations involved in those transnational projects, addressing common needs, sharing best practices, generally speaking, supporting those institutions to share best practices and improve the work they're doing for their beneficiaries. Who can apply? In those projects can apply the institutions that are represented, that are located in program countries and third countries associated to the program. In order to be eligible, you have to be established and operating at least 2 years on the market. And who can participate? Like I mentioned, coordinator cannot be third country, not associated to the program, but regions 1, 2, and 3 have privileges, and those institutions can participate as a partner if those institutions are providing certain added value to that project. And we've noticed in many, especially in vocational education and training centers, which institutions are capable of providing certain added value to those projects. And if that's the case, in that case, institutions, WET institutions from third countries not associated to the program can participate in those projects as a full partner. And also it's very important that cooperation partnership is not about cooperation between the same type of organizations. It's not necessary to include only vocational education and training centers there. The target is that, based on the program guide, the target is that it's advisable to involve as diverse institutions as possible within your projects to make it more competitive and make it more relevant for the Erasmus Plus project. Consortium composition. Consortium composition is that it must involve at least 3 organizations from 3 different program country or third country associated to the program. There is a minimum requirement, but there are no maximum requirements. All participants have to be identified before the submission of the application, and associated partners, like I mentioned, for example, in the CBWET examples, in the cooperation partnership, you can also involve the associated partners that not necessarily taking grants from the project, but somehow are interested or willing to participate in those projects. So in cooperation partnership, associated partners can also be involved. Like every other Erasmus Plus program, at least one horizontal priority has to be targeted within the cooperation partnership, and at least one specific priority. I mentioned earlier, and I'd like to repeat that every program, every Erasmus Plus program has its own certain priorities, in addition to 4 horizontal priorities of the Erasmus Plus program. So in order to check out those relevance and those requirements and those priorities, you need to consult with the program guide and check out whether your project idea for cooperation partnership meets or does not meet the relevance of the particular call. The length of the project is from 1 year to 3 years. It also has to be mentioned that if same consortium partners can submit only one project. Same consortium members, for example, if the members are represented from Belgium and Germany, they cannot submit that application in Germany than in Belgium, because national agencies are talking amongst each other. They have coordination, of course, and they can detect that the same application is applied to various national agencies. So the application has to be with the same consortium, has to be applied once. And here, given the call IDs. Call IDs, those are mainly for youth organizations in decentralized actions. But for educational institutions, those calls will be published by the national agencies with the means they are generally using in different countries. It can be different sorts of communication tool, but the projects for national agencies are generally submitted through, I guess, what is called Media Saldo, not youth. I forgot the name of the portal. Okay, but it doesn't matter. Okay, deadline is not relevant because the deadline was mainly about for the youth institutions, and the budget is from 120,000 to 400,000. Mainly, that's what I wanted to say. Like I mentioned, I would very much advise to check out the program guide before you decide to develop a project proposal. Here is given our Erasmus website. We try to take out as much information for our beneficiaries in Georgian and English languages as much as possible and as much as is relevant. There is also given our email address. If you have any questions, you can directly send us an email or check out our web pages. So if you have any questions or comments, would be very glad to answer them. Or if you have a question, you can also write it down in the chat section. If not, then what I want to say is that once I hope that you will be attending the WET networking event in May in Tbilisi. But if not, especially that's the message for the program country representatives, that anytime if you have a program idea and if you are looking for partners, relevant partners for your projects, we can initiate. It's very easy for us and for our office and for Skills Agency. It's very easy for us to coordinate the communication between you and relevant WET institutions. So if you need assistantship, so to speak, in terms of finding relevant partners, you can directly approach to us anytime. Yes, please, Ricardo, please.
Yeah, good afternoon. Thanks for the presentation. I had just one technical and practical question for the event in May. Should we consider already as register, or should we wait for confirmation, because we would need to start booking the flight and organizing the logistic?
We have a representative from the Skills Agency, right?
Yes, hello. First of all, thank you, Mariam, for a very interesting presentation. And regarding the registration, we will follow up with the feedback from our side. Ricardo.
So you will get the confirmation, and you have to act after the confirmation. I believe this confirmation will happen quite soon.
Yes,
yeah, so we have to wait for another mail, because I just got an email yesterday asking also for the passport, the ID, and it has to be sent by yesterday. So I have to wait for another confirmation out of that, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you very much.
Eleni, please.
Hello from beautiful Mestia. I have to come outside because of poor connection. So thank you again for your interesting presentation. Actually, I've been a lot of times been a participant of Erasmus Plus projects, and even in May. Unfortunately, I won't be able to attend this conference, kind of very important event, because I'm taking our 4 students from College Technology Hungary, but it's not our project. We are kind of invited partners. But I think that I will text you and ask you for support for future partners, because for us it's really important. I already registered college on portal on like European site for tenders and for these projects, but we have not started to write a project. I mean, we have tried to find some partners, but even according from your presentation, we need like more than 2 partners. Yes, am I right? Like to be partner and
More than 2 partner in the program country or third country associated to the program.
and I want you to ask for the support. I mean, for future, to implement and write the project together, to be the like main partner in this like field. I mean, we need support in this case.
Support in terms of finding partners. Elena, we gradually organize events for Georgian WET institutions. What are the strategies, how to find the potential partners? We as a NEO, of course, can't sit down and find the potential applicants for each one of the project, right? But we can advise you how is it possible to find the relevant partners for your institutions. And I've noticed that some of the WET institutions are very successfully implementing those strategies. So I would advise, we have planned events, almost 100 events throughout the year. So I would advise you to pay attention to our calendar, what we are announcing through the help of Skills Agency on our website and on our social media, and attend to those events, because those events are really, really important and very helpful to help you to understand how to find partners, where to find partners, and it will give you all the necessary details that you might need as a potential participant.
And according also, I want to thank you, add one comment that during the previous, like we have this internationalization kind of week in Tbilisi, in Sinam and Kari, and I will use this chance. We texted most of them. I registered college on our website, but I have got responses from 2 or 3 of them. So it's like we met each other face to face, even they know us. It's really difficult even to like find someone who doesn't know you, who have not ever met you. So this is also what I experienced from previous like.
Also, I would advise that if it's difficult for you to find partners, in the first place, you create a better idea for yourself. What sort of project you want to participate in, what sort of project you want to implement, what are your resources in terms of staff who will be involved in those projects, what are your infrastructure as an institution, how can be helpful. You should not be asking that here I am institution, let me get involved in your project. You also should promote yourself, that you have capacity, that you have infrastructure, that you have experience doing maybe not Erasmus, but different sort of international projects, and you have those experience and you have enough staff capacity to implement those projects. It's very important to communicate and promote yourself properly as well. Just single email that I'm interested, participation would not be enough. And it's a numbers game at the end of the day. It's a numbers game to find a good partner. You need to talk a lot of potential partners in order to find the relevant one for you.
I know. Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome. Deb, okay. Okay, just institution expressing their interest to participate in the Erasmus Plus program. Any more questions?
A comment, if I may.
Yes.
Just a comment regarding Elena's questions. Yes, the International Week, which was organized last year, The main idea of the event was to support development of partnerships between Georgian vet schools and schools from other countries. And the similar event will be organized in May that Mariam already mentioned. And this is why it's very important that if not you, someone will be attending the event in May in Tbilisi to represent your school. And in case you have some trouble communicating with the schools that were attending the previous International Week or will be attending the one in May, you can reach out to Skills Agency as well, and we can support in communicating with them as well.
Thank you, dear Sopo, for your response. Actually, I'm still waiting from the colleges from Hungary, from Spain, because we had very effective communication with them, but then they had some problems. I don't know, they promised me to reach me back again for future collaboration. Let's see, I'm still waiting from them. Actually, I won't disturb you and bother you to ask you to help me. How can I reach them again? Because I have their contacts and we are almost now friends. But still waiting from them for future calls or something like this. Because now we have several projects. We are really working on it, but it's from because of my friends, because of my network. But I want to be, this is to make this systematic change, not because of me or because of my friends. If I won't be here, and if somebody will be instead of me, to continue working on this field, because it's really important. We have really good, steps forwarded, because we already made new sites. We can't even compare to the previous one, it's on for sure both languages, in English and Georgian, because our college didn't have the site in even the function of to translating in English. So we have several positive changes, but we have to do more for future collaboration with international partners.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. Do you have any more questions? If not, then we call it a day, and hopefully to see you at your colleagues are also writing, are interested in finding certain partners. You can check the links out. And like I mentioned, hopefully to see you in the networking event in May. And especially for Georgian participants, I very much advise you to attend the webinars or workshops face-to-face we are conducting. We are also planning to start the regional meetings from in the middle of April. We are going in Kutaisi, then Samsa Jawahati, etc. So we'll be represented in the regions as well. And if you can, please physically attend to those events. That will make your job way much easier in the end.
If you will
Have a nice
decide,
day,
Estia can also host you. It's remote rural area. Nobody's visiting us. So I'm not sure. You should come here and we will host you.
We will keep in mind.
It's really important.
I understand.
We
Thank
have
you
a lot
very
of
much.
tourists, but not according this reason. So we can host you, and why not?
Thank you so much for the invitation, and have a nice day, everyone. And wish you a successful project proposals, creation of successful project proposals, as many as you can.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thank you, Mariam. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. And see you soon. Mestia.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye.